Hello and welcome to Easy Math channel. This week we'll talk about simple interest and compound interest, but this video is solely based on simple interest. And I would recommend to watch the percentages video that I made last week to go over because simple interest and compound interest uses the concept of percentages. So whenever anyone is talking about simple interest, the first thing that comes to our mind is maybe this is about a loan or about a bank account. But in general, simple interest is nothing but it's a percent. As you can see, it's a percent of the principal, and we'll talk about in a bit what principal means. So it's nothing but, so simple interest is nothing but it's a percent of the principal that has to be paid by someone. Let's say if that person has borrowed money to the bank, or that person has deposited money into a bank either through checking account or say saving account or in any other form. So it's nothing, it's just a percent. And principal is nothing but it's the amount. Let me get my marker here. Just a second. Cool. So it's nothing but it's just an amount. Let me change the color. Okay. So it's the amount, which is amount is same as money that is borrowed from a bank or it's put into the bank. So again, principal is nothing but it's the amount or the money that you borrow from the bank or you put into a bank in checking account or saving account. We will go over some examples to further simplify this concept and make it easy to understand. So let's jump into some examples. Let's say we have a principal which can also be denoted as P of $500, and let's say the rate of interest, which is R, is 4%, and we have to calculate what a simple interest, let's say simple interest, which is also I, denoted as I, is for a principal of 500 with a rate of interest 4% in a year. So as you can see, interest is nothing but principal times rate of interest. Now in this case, our principal is $500 and rate of interest is 4%. Now if you remember, percent is nothing but over 100. So if we want to calculate our interest with a principal of 500 and an interest and the rate of interest of 4%, we get value of $20. So this is our interest. So again, if you want to see how to calculate percentages, I would recommend go back and see my percentages video. But again, using this concept or using this problem, if a principal of 500, we have, say, if we have principal of 500 with a rate of interest of 4%, and we have to find out what a simple interest is, all we have to do is multiply the principal times the rate of interest and we get $20. So this is our simple interest. So let's say if we borrowed money from a bank, after 1 year we have to return the whole amount to the bank. And what do I mean by whole amount? Since you borrowed the money from the bank, you have to return principal plus the interest back to the bank. So this would be 500 plus 20, $520. So we have to return $520 if we borrowed $500 from the bank. If, let's say, instead of borrowing, if we have deposited this much amount into the bank, you would have expected $20 additional money, additional amount or additional money in your bank after the end of 1 year. So if you deposited $500 in your bank account, by the end of the year, you would see that your $500 has increased by $20 and you would have $520 in your account. Cool. Simple enough? Okay, we will do some more examples based on the simple concept. Let's say, let me pull up our first example. Cool. So let's say here is our question. How much interest would you earn if you put $500 in a bank for 15 years and received a simple interest of 8%? Okay, let's read it again. How much interest would you earn if you put $500 in a bank for 15 years and received simple interest of 8%? Now, before we start solving this problem, let's see what kind of information do we have. Okay, so we know the amount that we are putting in bank is $500, so this is nothing but P is 500. We know that the simple interest is 8%, so this would be R. Let me erase that and write it again. Great. So R is 8%, and we know that it's been it's been put into a bank for 15 years. So 15 years, and we have to find out how much interest will we earn. So we have to find out how much I is. Okay, so based on the example that we saw before, let me go back to the previous example. We know that I is nothing but P times R. So we'll use the same formula here. So I is nothing but P times R. So P is 500 and R is 8%. So if we solve that, we get $40. So I is $40. But remember, this is just by 1 year. If you go back to the example that we did, this was always, whenever rate of interest is given, it's always in a year. But since we have deposited the money for 15 years, all we have to do is multiply this $40 by 15. Again, because we are putting the amount in a bank for 15 years. So our interest would be 15 times $40, which is $600. So after 15 years, you can expect to earn $600 if you deposited $500 in a bank for 15 years with this simple interest, which is 8%. And I'll be quite honest, this is really great return or simple interest, and this is pretty good amount after 15 years on $500. Great. Okay, let's do another example. Cool. So here we have to calculate the ending balance of the saving account if the deposit was $400 and the simple interest earned is 7% for 5 years. Now let's focus on this. We are asked about the ending balance. So ending balance, okay, let's go back to the first example. So ending balance would be nothing but principal times interest. So ending balance again is something which is principal plus interest, which is the total amount towards the end of the year. So let's see what information do we have here. So principal is $400. Simple interest is 7%. And we know that it's been in the bank for 5 years. So again, if we want to calculate what's our total interest for 5 years is, we'll do P times R. P is $400 times 7%. So this is nothing but 400 times 7 over 100. And we get $28. So the interest after 1 year that we can expect is $28. But remember, this is for 5 years. So the total interest would be $28 times 5, which is nothing but $140. Great. So this means that if we deposited $400 with a simple interest of 7% for 5 years, we can expect interest. We get 140, not expect, sorry. We get $140 of interest at the end of 5 years. But that's not the end of this question. We are asked what the ending balance is. So the ending balance would be principal plus I. So in this case, principal is 400 and I is $140. So our ending balance would be 540. So again, to simplify what ending balance actually means is, let's say you deposited $400 in your bank account with 7% interest for 5 years and you forget about it. And let's say after 5 years, you check your bank account. You would see that your bank account now has $540 in total. So $540, out of $540, you'll see that 400 was your initial amount that you deposited, and 140 is the interest that you collected or that you earned with a 7% interest. We can do one more example to, for more practice and to see how easy this whole concept is. Let me pull another example. Great, so this is similar to what we discussed prior. Again, we have to calculate the ending balance of the saving account. If the initial deposit or the deposit amount is $1,000 and we earned a simple interest of 6% for 6 years. Remember, before we begin to solve any problem, it's always a good practice to list down what type of information we have. So we know that the principal is $1,000. Rate of simple interest is 6%, and this is for 6 years. And all of this problem follows a similar pattern. First, we have to find out what the interest is, which is nothing but P times R. So $1,000 times 6%, so which is nothing but 1,000 times 6 over 100, $60. Now this is for 1 year and we are interested for 6 years. So second step would be for 6 years, if it would be 60 times 6, so which is nothing but $360. And the third step would be calculating ending balance, which is nothing but principal plus interest. So principal is $1,000 plus $360, and we get 1360. So again, 3 simple steps. First, figure out what the interest is. Second, calculate total interest for the given number of years. And third would be ending balance, which is nothing but principal plus interest, and which is nothing but, in this case, $1,360. So the ending balance would be $1,316 if the amount deposited was $1,000 with a simple interest of 6% for 6 years. Great. So I hope this was easy to understand and also helpful for you to understand what simple interest is. I hope you like this video, and if you do, please subscribe and leave your comments below. And I will see you next week. And don't forget to check out my next video on compound interest. Thank you.